All right, so we're diving into this whole electric versus gas-powered car debate today. I feel like everyone's got an opinion. But we're going deeper. We're looking at the data to see what it really says about their environmental impact. No hype, just facts. We've got some research reports here comparing energy consumption and emissions for both types of vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles or ICEs and electric vehicles or EVs. Plus, we'll look at how the growth of renewable energy changes things.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is we're looking at the whole picture, not just what comes out of the tailpipe. We're talking about building the cars, using them, and even disposal, and of course, all the different energy sources involved.
Okay, so let's start with energy consumption.
Right.
What kind of numbers are we dealing with here?
Well, the global oil system, it consumes a massive amount of energy every year, something like 7,200 terawatt hours.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, that's roughly the same as the total energy consumption of an entire continent annually, and that includes everything. Extracting the oil, refining it, transporting it, even powering all those gas stations.
Wow, 7,200 terawatt hours. That is a lot of energy just to keep our gas tanks full. You mentioned gas stations specifically. What's the story there?
Well, it turns out that gas stations themselves, with
Oh,
all the lights and pumps and those convenience stores packed with snacks, they use a surprisingly large chunk of energy. It's about 200 terawatt hours per year.
hold on. So you're telling me the energy we use just to keep gas stations running, that could be used to power a bunch of EVs. That seems, I don't know, like a missed opportunity.
Exactly. If we could redirect even some of that energy towards charging electric vehicles, it would have a significant impact on our reliance on fossil fuels.
Okay, so the oil system uses a ton of energy. That's clear. But let's talk about the big question, emissions. Over the entire life of a car, how do gas-powered and electric vehicles really compare?
All right, let's look at the numbers. For a typical car driven for 200,000 kilometers,
Yeah.
ICE vehicle, it emits about 7 tons of CO2 during production. Then you've got a whopping 24 tons from burning all that fuel, plus another half a ton when it's time for disposal. So that brings the grand total to 31.5 tons of CO2.
Wow, 31.5 tons. That's a lot. Okay, so how does the electric car stack up?
For the same distance, an EV, it comes in much lower. About 12 tons of CO2 are released during production, mainly because of the battery. Then 1 ton from electricity use, and the same half ton for disposal, totaling 13.5 tons.
Okay, so even with the battery, the electric car cuts emissions by more than half.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference.
That's a pretty strong argument for EVs.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember, those calculations for EVs are based on a European electricity mix, which still relies on fossil fuels to some extent. As we shift to cleaner sources of electricity, that electricity use number is going to get even smaller.
So the cleaner our energy grid gets, the better EVs look.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these renewable energy sources popping up, solar, wind. How does that impact things?
That's a key part of this whole equation. As we transition to a cleaner electricity grid, powered by renewables like solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal, the carbon footprint of charging those EVs, it drops significantly.
Just like the cleaner our electricity, the more it makes sense to go electric.
Right. It creates a positive feedback loop. More EVs on the road, well, that leads to more demand for clean energy, which then makes EVs even cleaner to operate.
This is fascinating. It really highlights how connected transportation and energy are.
Absolutely. Choosing an electric vehicle isn't just about the car itself. It's about contributing to a bigger shift towards a more sustainable system.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. Before we move on, I want to leave you with something to think about. What if we could completely decarbonize our electricity grid? What would that mean for the future of transportation? Something to ponder as we head into part 2 of this deep dive.
Yeah, a fully decarbonized grid. That would be a complete game changer. It would make EVs virtually emissions-free from start to finish. And it would open up all sorts of exciting possibilities for how our transportation and energy systems can work together. Imagine using EVs as like mobile storage units to help balance the grid.
Okay, that's interesting. This whole mobile storage unit idea. Can you explain how that would actually work?
Sure, so think of it this way. Your EV wouldn't just be for getting you around. It could also be like a mini power plant on wheels. When there's a lot of demand for energy, like in the evening when everyone's cooking dinner and turning on the lights, your EV, if it's plugged in, it could actually send some of its stored electricity back to the grid to help keep things stable.
Oh, so instead of building more power plants to handle those peak times, we could just use the energy that's already stored in all those EVs.
Exactly. It's a way to make our grid more efficient.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this V2G technology, which stands for vehicle to grid. It has a lot of potential. It could make our grid more stable, reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, and even help us bring in more renewable energy sources.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about emissions, but what about the environmental impact of actually manufacturing these vehicles? I've heard that making batteries for EVs can be pretty resource intensive.
You're right. The production phase of EVs, especially the battery, it does have a larger environmental footprint compared to traditional gas-powered cars. Extracting and processing those raw materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel, it requires a lot of energy. And there can be social and environmental impacts in the places where those resources are mined.
Right, so it's not all perfect with EVs. There are some downsides to consider.
Definitely. There's no one perfect solution. But the good news is the industry is very aware of these challenges, and there's a ton of innovation happening to make battery production more sustainable.
So what kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well, for one thing, companies are developing new battery chemistries that use less of those problematic materials or rely on more abundant and ethically sourced alternatives. We're also seeing huge advancements in recycling technologies, which are crucial for recovering those valuable materials from old batteries, so we don't have to keep mining new resources.
So the future of EVs, it depends on more than just clean energy to power them. It also depends on making the whole battery supply chain cleaner.
Exactly. It's going to take collaboration across industries, governments, and research institutions. It's a complex challenge, but it's one we absolutely need to solve if we want to make electric mobility truly sustainable.
This is a lot to think about. It seems like this whole shift to electric transportation, it's about more than just swapping one type of car for another. It's about rethinking our entire energy and transportation systems.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that things are always changing. New technologies are coming out, policies are evolving, and consumer preferences are shifting.
It's a dynamic field for sure. Staying informed is key. But it's safe to say, the journey toward a cleaner, more sustainable transportation future, it's already happening. And EVs are a big part of that.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are interested in this whole idea of a decarbonized grid and EVs as mobile power plants, we're going to dive deeper into those topics in part 3. We'll explore the potential of vehicle-to-grid technology, or V2G, and how it could revolutionize both the energy and transportation sector.
Okay, so let's talk about this vehicle-to-grid technology. V2G. It sounds pretty futuristic, but how does it actually work in real life?
Well, it's actually simpler than you might think. Basically, with V2G, electric vehicles can become two-way energy players. Instead of just taking power from the grid to charge up, they can also send electricity back to the grid when it's needed.
Oh, so like our EVs could become little power stations, plugged in and ready to share their energy.
Exactly. Imagine thousands of EVs plugged in after work. With V2G, they could all act like a giant battery, releasing stored energy back to the grid during those peak demand hours, like early evening when everyone's making dinner and turning on lights.
I see. So instead of building more power plants to handle those peak times, we could use the power that's already sitting in all those EVs.
Exactly. It's a way to make the grid more stable, reduce our reliance on those fossil fuel power plants, and make it easier to integrate more renewable energy sources.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But what about the EV owners? What's in it for them?
Well, for one thing, participating in V2G programs could actually save them money. By providing this service to the grid, EV owners could get financial incentives or credits on their electricity bills.
So you're helping to create a more sustainable energy system and saving money at the same time.
Exactly. It's a great example of how individual actions can benefit everyone.
Now, I know some people might be a little worried about this whole charging and discharging thing.
Yeah.
Like, could it wear out the EV battery faster?
That's a common concern. But the impact of V2G on battery degradation is actually very small. The technology is designed to carefully manage those charging and discharging cycles to make sure the battery stays healthy and lasts a long time.
So it's not like my phone battery, which seems to die after a year.
Nope. EV batteries are designed to last for many years, even with regular V2G use. And remember all those advancements in battery technology we talked about? Those are also making batteries more durable.
That makes sense. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Emissions renewables and now this V2G technology. What's the takeaway for the average person listening?
I think the big takeaway is that we're in the middle of a huge shift in how we power our lives and how we get around. The move to electric transportation. It's not just about cleaner cars. It's about rethinking our whole energy system.
And it's happening now. This isn't some far-off future.
Exactly. The decisions we make today, as consumers, policymakers, and innovators, they're going to shape what this transition looks like and what kind of future we create.
So whether you're thinking about buying an EV, supporting cleaner energy policies, or just staying informed about all this, you're part of this change.
Absolutely. The more we understand these changes, the challenges and the opportunities, the better equipped we'll be to create a future that's both sustainable and prosperous.
Well said. Well, looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of electric vehicles. What a journey. I hope you enjoyed this electrifying exploration and that you're feeling inspired to be a part of this exciting transformation.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those questions coming.
And hey, if you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking discussions. It really helps others find the show. And before we go, let me just wish you all a very happy and sustainable new year.